Welcome back to the Business of Coaching Workshop. I'm Andrew Jackson, your host, strength coach and nutrition coach at Barbell Logic and co-founder of TurnKey Coach. Today, I get to sit down with somebody I've been wanting to have on the show for quite a while. Big Mike. I always screw up the last name. Capriglione?
Okay.
Capriglione.
Yeah,
it's not Capriglione, right?
No, I mean, you could do both, but Capriglione normally is the right way to say it. So,
not to be confused with Gaglione.
No.
Head coach at head of strength and conditioning at Varsity House. We've had both Joe and Dan on the show, and obviously everybody on the show here recognizes Varsity House. Mike has been there since 2009, running the floor, building the coaching team, and turning Varsity House's training philosophy into a system that's repeatable across multiple sites, multiple different staffs, and membership has grown well past the single owner, what a single owner operator could ever do by themselves. So the specific reason I wanted to have Mike on because Mike and the team at Varsity House actually broke TurnKey Coach because with over 600 clients across multiple locations, and one of your coaches had, I think, over 100 clients on their roster. One of the features I had to go fix because we weren't built to handle that many. And the interesting part isn't just the head count; it's that Mike and the VH team are using TurnKey Coach in a way that it wasn't really initially its core feature set, in that it emerged as a tool that we used at Barbell Logic predominantly for online coaching, but Mike and the team are using Varsity House for really high volume in-person coaching and group training in a brick and mortar setting across multiple locations. So I'm excited to have you on the show, Mike, and to hear what your experience has been, your background, and then, what tools you're using for your coaches and your clients that make the in-person experience better, more consistent, and worth premium pricing.
For sure. Thank you. Thanks, Andrew, for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Mac, thank you as well for having me here. I'm excited to get going and ready to rip and open up with any questions you have for me.
So in my research, first up, just to get to know you a little bit better, I found out that you have been a competitive semi-pro, or would you consider yourself pro strongman, for 20 years?
Yeah, so I've been in the strongman game for nearly 20 years. I started in 2007 with my first ever show. I've been all over the country to compete. I've competed against some of the best guys in the world. If you're in the strength game, you probably know, like, Rob Kearney, Nicholas Camby, some of the guys. If you're in the strongman, there are some pro strongman guys and just guys that I came up with on the East Coast that I competed up against with. But just a little bit of background with that. I am 2010, 2014 New Jersey Strongest Man. I'm also Delaware State Strongman Champion as well in 2015. I won Rhode Island in 2021. I do have 2 New York State records as well for the axle clean and press for reps and the 18-inch deadlift at a 105 kilo. So I'm a 105 kilo competitor, which is 231. And I've been to the World's Strongest Man at 105 kilo for 2018, and I was able to get to the Arnold after a 15-year venture to try to get to that and qualify for that. That was something that meant a lot for me in my strength world, and for me, I think the Arnold is probably viewed as the biggest strength event, the entire year anywhere. So for me to be able to get there, I got there in 2022 to compete, and that was a great experience, and was really happy to be there, and been competing ever since. So.
Bump into Anthony Deal, cross paths with him?
Yeah, so the funny thing with that, so I can't remember if over the years we competed against each other. We may have, but we had a underground strength convention a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, and he was actually here for it, which was cool. And I had set up some cool events for guys to do, and I remember seeing the name, and I was like, this guy's going to probably do pretty good. So I knew he was very strong. So he did great on the dumbbell. We had the dumbbell clean and press.
Circuits dumbbell clean,
we had the Husfeld pick carries and stuff. And he did really good. So so I do know him, and I don't know. I can't remember.
Supposedly tore his delt doing that competition, winning.
No, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So he just posted about it the other day, actually. Yeah.
Oh,
No, it's cool. It was fun doing the strongman events.
That's kind of my strength background in a sense. Yeah.
So then,
Competitive
and
background.
then my also understanding is you met Joe as your professor in college, getting your exercise science degree, and I assume that's where the connection started. That then got you into Varsity House in 2009.
Yeah, for sure. So Joe is an anatomy and physiology teacher at the College of Montclair State University, where I attended. He obviously, if you know Joe, he's the brand and founder and co-founder of Varsity House Gym. So, yeah, he was my teacher, and I was wearing an Inter Advanced Design shirt, which is a powerlifting company. I was sitting up
Mm-hmm.
front, and he looked at me. He made a comment, and he was like, "That kid would know what I'm talking about," because I had the shirt on, and you got kids who are going for exercise science, but some train, some really don't. Some think it's just going to be an easy career, so they're just kind of sitting there going through the motions. So he was like, "Yeah, I think that kid would know what I'm talking about," and then that kind of just sparked up a conversation. I kind of knew at that point where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do for a career. I didn't really have a lot of other interests. I'm not the most tech savvy guy, which I'm sure Andrew can contest to. During TurnKey coach, but this is where I knew if I was going to make it in a career and try to be as successful as I can. I knew this was the industry I had to make it. It's really the only true passion I had. So we talked, we met. I knew that he had a facility. He was branching out. It was already, he had a little facility for 3 years from '06 to '09, a little warehouse gym that he shared with another basketball coach. And he was branching out into a much bigger facility, a bigger warehouse, and kind of going into like his own thing. And he needed an employee. And I signed up, first ever employee, and we're here today still. So.
I saw a post from Joe. I think it was yesterday morning or maybe 2 days ago, where he was uh, venting about how grads are no longer reading books and
Yeah.
have no inspiration outside of Instagram. I know he's huge into reading. I think
Yes.
he talks about reading all the time and books on the shelf and everything. Did you have the what books and inspiration question during your interview?
Yeah, a little bit. He did. He did ask me like, what were my, my inspirations, my influences.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously for me, I was already competing for 2 years before I met him, and I
Mm-hmm.
had already gone out on my own to Jim Jones. Jim Jones, if you guys know Jim Jones, their
Mm-hmm.
facility out in Salt Lake City, Utah, and they had like a really big following because they were the guys who trained the guys from 300. And in 2008, I just took it upon myself. I was like, you know what? I gotta do something to test myself, push my boundaries. I went out there for 2 weeks and trained with them and got my ass absolutely handed to me. So they destroyed me, man. I mean, I could do a whole podcast on what they did to me for 2 weeks, and it's like funny because it's like not that long ago, but there were no like waivers. Like I didn't go out there and like, hey, fill out a waiver and do a consult. It's like you either do it or you either make this or you don't. So,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously when I first came in with Joe, being like this is also too like Joe's real first experience bringing anybody in. So like anybody, so it was kind of unconventional. It wasn't like now we have systems and phone interviews. You have to pass the phone interview, go to an in-person interview. There's a shadow day. With me, it was just like, hey, I think you're pretty. I think you're going to be good. So let's go. So it was kind of, and then he basically was like, follow me the whole time, like just stand by me while I coach. And really, to be honest with you, the first year working with Joe, yeah, he was really helpful with me in terms of learning how to organize a plan. Like, yes, I had trained for a couple of years, I was competing for a couple of years, but how to actually organize a systematic plan was something that he really truly helped me with. And he gave me a bunch of books to read because I wasn't like, I'll be honest, like, and he knows this, like, I'm not like a huge reader. Like, it's not something better with audiobooks or
Mm-hmm.
articles and stuff like that. And like, I'm a big West Side guy. That was my biggest influence is West Side Barbell. But,
Mm-hmm.
obviously,
Old
um,
VHS tape days.
yeah, I had all the VH tapes, when he's
Yeah.
standing in front of like the candy store with the Seattle Seahawks hat on, talking about like the guy, you know what I mean? Talking about dynamic methods and stuff, and the guys
Yeah.
are bench pressing with cut off flannel shirts and shit. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my influence. He knew that, and he went out to West Side a couple years prior. So he had that hardcore background. He knew that's kind of where I came from a little bit. Big Elite FTS guy, big Day State guy. So and a couple other influence like Eric Cressy and stuff like that because I really like sports and stuff, but he kind of I followed a lot of his stuff. So, but yeah, so I mean, he helped me, he gave me some good books, and then as I got deeper and deeper into working, he started providing me a lot of business type style books, Turning Pro, and a lot of good books that can help me. Never Split the Difference. A lot of different books that from a mindset could help me, dealing with people and members, and how to, everything you deal with everybody is every member you have to create solutions for and put out little fires, and how do you do all those little things? It's not just, hey, come in and let's grip and rip all the time. Like there's a lot of, you're not getting world class you're not always getting world class athletes all the time. You're getting real people, real everyday people. So how do you deal with them? And he really, really helped me in the very early stages with that.
So we've got an interesting thing to balance, because I want to jump in and ask you about your operations today, knowing that it evolved to this over the course of, we're coming up on 20 years, right?
Yeah, this will be my 17th year with the company. Yeah.
So how would you describe the operations today, all the way out to you guys are opening your fourth, or have already opened the fourth location?
Yeah, that's the plan. I think towards the end of the year, we'll be looking to do a fourth one. I think we had some thoughts process of doing it for early in this year, but I think we just kind of want to buckle down a little bit and just focus on what we had and just continue to make that better. Our big motto this year is like unfinished business in year 20. And that was like our minute. It's like unfinished. Like, let's just keep doing what we do really well. Let's push the boundaries a little bit. Let's keep moving the needle where we need to move it. And hopefully the fourth facility will come down the road. But yeah, so we kind of pushed it off a little bit just to kind of focus on what we have. And that's, but the plan is definitely to have a fourth facility in the next year or so.
So how do you guys run the operations? I mean, for those that aren't aware, you got the VH headquarters, which is huge facility, warehouse style, beautiful campus, and then the other three I haven't been to. I understand are more kind of the 1,500 to maybe 3,000 square foot kind of more commercial gym kind of space.
Yeah.
Maybe we just start with what are the Varsity House property kind of gym facilities look like, and how are you managing those operations?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, I'm in the headquarters now. That's my day-to-day. That's my day-to-day concern all the time. I'm the general manager here in Orangeburg. That's where our headquarters are in New York. And then our other two locations, they are like more smaller boutique shops. So in a sense, like the location we have here in Orangeburg, our headquarters, is kind of almost unmatchable. You really can't repeat this process. It takes a lot to kind of keep this ship moving in the right direction. So the other facilities that we opened up, we really want it to be a little bit more intimate, a little bit more personal. So those are more PT, personal training, small group facilities that are really kind of at full capacity, around 125 to 135 in terms of members. And they really run strictly on two head coaches. That's it. We have a facility leader and we have one head coach who's really kind of like the community manager for that facility leader that runs a lot of the defensive work and all the messaging for the members and stuff like that, all the back end, the tracking, the attendance for both full facilities. So two coaches in each facility, and then we have Adam, who is our COO, who really manages kind of like the day-to-day for both of them. So if there's any real big issues or concerns, that he's there in both those facilities. So that's kind of how we work it. From my personal standpoint, my day-to-day is here constantly. I do help consult a little bit with the other two facilities. So like if I'm doing something here that I feel like will be beneficial, I will connect with our facility leaders in both Ridgewood and Oradell and speak to them about, hey, here's what I think we're doing here that will be really beneficial. Why don't you guys try this? And then I'll talk, and I meet with them. I have a meeting with them every single month, once a month, to just go over membership solutions, where are you at revenue wise, and just kind of put out any fire that we can that I can help support. So I do that once a month with them.
Having gone through and seen the evolution into a facility like Varsity House, which is that's more like 300 to 400 clients.
Yes. Yeah. So right now, currently we're right on the tip of 400, and that is a combination of adults and athletes.
So you've seen and you live that world day to day, and then you've seen the more boutique style, and obviously you're also part of Business of Strength team as well. So you're consulting a lot of gym owners and coaches. Do you have advice that to gym owners out there? Like, is there a sweet spot model, or do you think it just kind of depends on what you want out of your business? What's kind of your wisdom on gym size and operations?
Well, I think as I've seen the maturation of this facility in Orangeburg and what it has taken to get to a point where it can continue to to grow and move in the right pace. All the different bodies and the inputs that it has taken from, we have almost 16 different training options here, from youth athletes all the way to private training with 7-year-old, grandparents. So we have every different training service here. I personally, would say I enjoy the day to day here. Obviously, it's what I do. But I think if you can make a smaller boutique shop work for you and limit there's always going to be stress, obviously, right? But like, I think sometimes people go into this, and I'll be honest with you, like, let me back up for a second because to answer this question a little deeper. When I first started with Joe and Dan, I was still in college for a couple of years, and it took me like forever to graduate college because I would never I would not take a class because I had to train. So it just took me forever. I'd be like, I'm not taking this Tuesday morning class because I'm going to train in my credit. So it took me like 7 years to graduate. I could have been a doctor, but it took me a while. But I was still in college, and people when they knew I worked at Varsity House. Some friends I kind of became friends with in college would always ask me, "Hey, Mike, when are you gonna open up your own facility? When are you gonna open up your own facility?" Right? And I'll be honest, me personally, I never did. I never wanted to. That's just me. I never wanted to. Right. I've been super close with Joe and Dan to see kind of I've been here since day one in a sense. So I kind of see what it's taken, the maturation. And if you're willing to put yourself out there, invest your money and go all in, awesome. And I would say if you can, keep it as simple as possible, if you can. And I think it depends too where you're at, where you're at, like in the country and stuff like that, like from an affluent standpoint, like your demographics of where you're at, making sure your prices match the people that you're around is very big. If you're not in a non kind of more blue collar type place, do your prices match, what people's incomes are, all that stuff matters. I would say the boutique shops, 2 coaches, 1 facility leader, 1 head of like community management and head coach, it just allows so much more clarity. You know what I mean? Where Orangeburg, there's, we have 7 to 10-year-olds training. There's so much going on. You go every day I walk in here, I'm like, I got a nice compliment the other day. It's like, "Oh, your gym is really clean." I'm like, that's awesome to hear, especially being like, I'm the face of it. So it's like, wow, it's really nice. But I walk in, I never think it's clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I'm always aggravated. And then I go to Oradell, I go to Ridgewood, the smaller boutique shops, and I'm like, it just the way it's newer, it's a little cleaner in a sense. Like it just hasn't been, there hasn't been so much wear and tear on it. And I'm like, man, I'm a little jealous sometimes. You know what I mean? Because it's like, so. But my advice would be if you are owning your own facility or you think about owning your own facility, try to make things as, like Andrew said in the beginning, as repeatable and scalable as humanly possible. And I think that's part of what we want to do with the smaller boutique shops is that everybody there, in each facility, we have close to 120 people. They're all on, they're all pretty much on TurnKey coach, right? They're all doing small group training. So, for me, it was a way for us to keep it scalable and repeatable. Where Orangeburg, it's a, when we bring interns here and stuff like that, you got to go. It is not, you can get exposed pretty quick. And we do make things a little bit more, we have over the years made things more scalable and repeatable. But I think if you can limit the amount of staff you have and the amount of space you can control, but still be profitable, I would go that route if you could.
And that sweet spot, it seems, tends to look like something between 1,500 to maybe 3,000 square feet. You got half a dozen racks, 120 to 130 said members, 2 coaches. Is there sort of a normal price point that you see for members in that kind of a gym?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, again, depending on where you're at locally, and depending on how you want to run your system, is it going to be more personal or more group based? If you're going to run a smaller boutique shop like that, it's going to be kind of personal.
Sure.
You're going to know everybody. You probably can't go more than, like for us, our capacity in 1 hour is 7. So it's, per coach. And when you're in Oradell and Ridgewood in the smaller facilities, it's only 1 coach coaching at one time with, let's say 4 to 7 members. You're going to know their first and last name. You're going to know their ailments. I mean, it's personal. I mean, you know what I mean? So when you're selling that kind of service, when you sit down with somebody, it is much different than going to a Retro Fitness, an Equinox, a Lifetime Fitness. I had a lady that I had a couple months ago. I sat down with her. She needed private training 101. She was just, very new to this. And really, before I felt comfortable moving into any, even a small group, I wanted her to do 101. And her, when I threw out the number of what our 10 pack or our 20 pack of privates would be, she was kind of sticker shocked a little bit, kind of, oh, like, and she's like, I don't know, that's a little bit pricey. I said, well, listen, you have to understand. I said, if you leave here and you have no solution with us, what is your solution? And she's like, oh, I'll probably just go to maybe retro or something like that. And I said, okay. I said, but you've done that earlier. We talked about that. You've done that. And that really hasn't been helpful for you. You need somebody to help you keep you accountable. I said, there's people that exist that can go to the gym, a public health club, nothing wrong with it, hour and a half, 2 hours, kick their own butt and do it consistently and make it a life priority for themselves. Then there's people that can't do that. For those people, we exist. And, that little explanation made some sense to her. And she wound up deciding to stay with us and start a private pack. And we started training. Now, what's that to you? For us, we find it to be between, depending how many days a week you want to do, probably, I would say between 275 and mid fours a month. That's what I would say. If you were going to, depending on the area, if you're in a decent affluent area, we deal with businesses all the time. They're all over the country. Tennessee. Different parts of California, and I was on the. I do a couple calls for the business of strength, like you mentioned earlier. One person I'm dealing with is in Tennessee, and one person I'm dealing with is in like Orange County, California. Two completely different, spectrums of different individuals. So I'm sure there are going to be some different price points there.
Yeah.
But I would say the
tax
fee for
rates,
that service,
unfortunately.
tax, of course, yeah, for sure. So I
half
think
that
for
check
you,
in California is, or half that
dude,
that
crazy, right?
subscription in California is going to the government.
It's insane. But that's I would say between 275 and mid
Yeah.
fours. That's
And
kind of what we do for our facilities. Yeah.
do you find that selling the packs or like is that paid up front, or do they pay per month? How do you guys structure the pricing for that? Flat rate per session, paid up front? How does that work?
Sure. So for our small group option, what we do for our small group option is a monthly membership, but it's a biweekly pay cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to a biweekly pay cycle a few years ago. Part of the reason is a couple of reasons. One, the biweekly pay cycle seems to be relative to more people because I think most people get paid on a biweekly status. Most people.
Yeah.
So moving to that, it was much easier for people to kind of comprehend what they were getting charged instead
Mm-hmm.
of being hit with like a $440 month one hit. It kind of gets spaced out a little bit. They get paid on every 2 weeks. So it was a little bit easier for us to conceptualize. So we
Mm-hmm.
moved to that. The second reason is if you think about it, because of the different days of the month, 28 days, 31 days, there are certain times of the year. And when we calculate, it's almost like 2 weeks out of the year where you're actually not getting paid.
Yeah.
Or it's actually, you know what I mean? So if you do a monthly billing cycle, there's actually a few times a year where actually they get a couple of weeks. So the bi-weekly billing cycle keeps it pretty consistent. It's 26 payments in the year, no matter what. And I think that kind of seemed to really help us. It's understanding for the client. And they always ask me too, like if anyone asks me, like, uh, I really don't, but if anyone has usually asked me, and maybe one or two people over the years, I'll just explain to them why we do it. And usually most people are pretty cool about it. And anybody who was grandfathered into our monthly, they just stayed on the monthly. We didn't move them to like a biweekly pay cycle. So our small group membership is a monthly membership with a biweekly pay cycle. There is no yearly contract. So for us, that's a really big selling point because I don't want anybody to sign anything up front.
Mm.
To me, not having somebody, when we do our consults, not having somebody actually sign something, it's like I think it's a good feeling for people that they have
Mm-hmm.
like a little flexibility and a little bit of freedom, especially in this world. I mean, we're a mom and pop job, right? In a sense, right? We're still a private business. We're not corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So, you go to Lifetime, it's corporate. You walk in. I remember I went to Arizona. We were in Arizona last
Mm-hmm.
in September. I went to go train at Lifetime for a day. It took me like a half hour to us to get set up. You know what I mean?
Half
And the guy
hour
had
and
the
like
suit on.
$150 drop in.
Yeah, the
So,
guy had the suit on. He had his name
yeah.
tag. It was the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have no connection with this guy, right?
Right.
So with us here, it's like if I'm getting somebody set up, like there's like a real personal connection. Like I sat down with this person, I learned who they are. They're going to see me the majority of the time. It's a little bit different to be like, hey, like, oh, like you signed this, so it's just there. I think
Mm-hmm.
doing it without. So what we do is they don't sign the day of. Uh, I think that kind of helps people. They don't feel like they're locked into anything. But what we do is, if you decide to terminate at all, we just ask you to fill out a termination link, which is just kind of why you leave. Is this an injury schedule? If so, please tell us how we can help you because we'd love to keep you here and stuff like that. And the last thing that they do is if they decide, let's say they cancel on May 3rd and their billing is on May 7th goes through. They can use the gym until the 21st and then they're done. So there's just one extra billing cycle upon termination, and they sign that on the way out. So I'd rather have them sign on the way out than sign on the way in. That's just my personal preference, and that's kind of how we've done it for all the years. So it's a monthly membership, biweekly pay cycle. Now the packs that we talk about, listen, we always have back pocket options, right? So we are in the tri-state area. So the amount of competition here is intense, right? I mean, you can just go anywhere. I mean, I'm sure, Andrew, when you came here, like if you just go down the road, there's an Alloy, there's a Core Fire, there's just Lifetime is 10 minutes from us. I mean, there's just tons of places, competition. So for me, I have to have options. I'm a big believer in having options for people. So for us, the pack is, we have a couple different packs, even in our PT studios. So our privates are packages. So when you do privates, it's not a monthly membership. We have a 10 pack and we have a 20 pack.
Gotcha.
Yep. So the 20 pack, the only difference with the 20 pack is that if you decide to do the 20 pack and you know that private training is going to be something that you're going to have to be doing for a little while, the 20 pack, you get to save a little bit of money because it's a little bit less per session. It's a little bit more upfront, but it's less per session. So you can save a little. So I usually tell people, listen, you know that 10 privates probably is not going to get the job done right away. So you might as well, if you know you're going to be done, we're going to be locked in for at least 20, you might as well do the 20 and save a little bit of money. So that's kind of how we do it. So our privates are all packages. And then I'll have, like, for some people who need more flexibility. So let's say for a small group, yes, it's a monthly membership, all that stuff. But you get people who are like, I can only do Saturdays. I work in the city Monday through Friday. I can't do anything, but you guys are awesome. Really want to stick with you. Do you have an option for them? For them, we have a 10 pack, a semi-private training session. So you can purchase a 10 pack. They're usable for 3 months, and you could just ticket punch them as you go. So we'll have that option as well. But mostly everybody's on a membership.
It seems like this is a good segue into what we were talking about before we started, that you have this consult. I guess it's a sales motion. Do most of your new clients come in through a consult?
Yeah. So our adult
Can you just kind of describe that process and how you work people through and use TurnKey to support that process?
Yes, of course. So for our consults, how we do it is we have athletes as well that do some consults as well. But a lot of our athletes, they trial a workout. Once they trial a workout, then we establish, conversation, how they felt, what the coaches thought. Then we go from there, unless it's a specific case like an injury or something, like kids coming off a torn ACL or something like that. But for our adult clientele, all new adults do a consult. It is like one of our big selling points. So for us, it's a big thing with us. So it's one-on-one. It's either done with myself or a head coach, and they come in and we go through the entire, and there's a whole way I go about doing it. And I could also, I don't have to go into extreme detail about it, but how we sit down, we have a nice conversation. We cover all the bases: injuries, limitations, training history, medication's a big thing because we're getting a lot of people that are on weight loss medication, and that kind of affects like how they feel and how they train. So a lot of things, who's coming off of, blood pressure, all that stuff, sugar, all that stuff. So we cover all that stuff. And then we also do an in-body scale weigh-in as well. So we get their muscle mass, their body fat, get all those numbers. So, because you get somebody in here who hasn't done anything in 20 years, it's a pretty telltale sign, their visceral fat numbers, all those things. And then we talk for 10, 15 minutes. I get some unique questions too. I always ask them their favorite movie, all that stuff, their favorite music and stuff, just to get to learn a little bit about them. You get some funny ass answers too when you ask them a little bit, you know what I mean? So just to get to know them a little bit, like sports fans. So, and then what I do is, after we go through that, kind of like background history and stuff like that, we'll do a half hour workout, checking movement patterns. If they had a specific issue, like a shoulder or back issue, I may run some functional screening type stuff with them just to kind of see how bad the internal, external rotation may be. So I have an idea. So little things like that, half hour workout, get them sweating a little bit. And then we'll come back upstairs and we'll go over everything that I saw or what the coach saw, kind of like the discovery a little bit of kind of like, here's what we think, here's what we saw. Now in that process, I'm real big on kind of relabeling what I heard earlier. So if they said they wanted X, Y, and Z, because we always ask them like, what are their goals or aspirations? What are some short term and long term? I'll ask them, hey, if like you trained here for 1 month consistently and didn't miss, what's success look like to you? They'll give me some answers. So I'll use that to go back later and discuss with them. Okay, so here's what you said earlier to me. Here's what I think you need, and then we'll discuss that. And like if their body fat is more than their muscle mass, and hey, listen, we got to flip these numbers around a little bit, right? So I'll go into that deep discussion and what program and service I think offers the best to them. And for it's always going to be our small group, right? You can't beat that. It's personal. We can modify things, and with that is when I bring in the turnkey coach, and that's how and turnkey coach is a huge selling point for us, because when I'm sitting down with somebody and I'm dealing with a 55-year-old mom who hasn't done anything in 25 years other than raise her kids, she's looking for somebody to kind of just be behind her, hold her accountable, make sure that we're listening to her. Like she has, let's say a torn meniscus, she has a shoulder injury from a car accident, all these little things. So I show her, and I'll turn my computer around and I'll show her a turnkey coach account, and I'll explain to her, I'll show her all our clients. I'll be like, hey, you will have your own account with us that has literally clinical notes, in a sense, on you. I said, this is why this one-on-one consult is so important. So I'll bring up examples that we have in the past of all the questions I asked earlier. What we do is we take all those answers and we put them in the client book of our client and turnkey coach, and that's where they live. So the whole entire staff sees all that. So when that client comes in and they did their consult, all their notes are in their client book. The coach pulls it up and sees, okay, no overhead pressing. All the single leg work is done, support it. Okay, great. So the program matches what they can handle, right? Optimal training, where we match the training stressors based on the ability of the individual. That's what makes the product that you're trying to service to people high level, right? It's not just some cookie cutter program that you're just trying to throw out there to people. So turnkey coach plays a huge role into that, because they understand and see the value. When you actually see like, oh wow, like I'm going to have a program, and I explain to them like, you're going to have the access to the app, you're going to see your numbers, you're going to see your progress. And I said, this is really nice because you can actually see how you're progressing through time. And a lot of our better clients, I'll bring up and show them how they track everything and stuff like that. So we really use turnkey coach really heavily in the consult phase to help with the sales process.
So I think such a really important point, because most people, when they hear small group training, might think that you're running a template with everybody, but you are still at that level of the 1-to-7 client ratio, fully customizing the program for each person. I mean, maybe there's some like similarities between the group, but you still tweak it for each individual.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so
yeah,
we have our template that we have for the month, right? Coach Tyler is our director of training and programming here, right? So he took that over a few months ago from Coach Adam, who had it for several years. I had it for about 8. Adam took over, and then Tyler has moved into that role. So for Coach Tyler, we have our templates that we use for the month, right? And being able to have templates is good, right? Because you have to have an idea and you have to have some scalability, right? Like we talked about that earlier. Having some scalability, having new coaches on staff. Like if you bring in a 21 or 22 or 23-year-old coach, like just throwing them into the fire, 6 different programs in 1 hour going on, it's probably going to be, probably going to lead into some failure, right? So, but we are big on making sure, hey, listen, like you see it, Andrew, when you go into it, like each coach has their, people under them, like they're responsible to make sure that there are specific changes for these people based on their needs. So like if we in the template have, let's say we're doing in the template some barbell floor pressing, and we know that this individual cannot do any horizontal pressing. Okay, maybe in their programming, the coach that's accountable for them has to change it to like a high angle rack push up, some other pressing variation, not going to be as stressful. So that's how we make sure changes are made. And by doing daily progress meetings every single week, so our coaching staff does progress meetings, okay, with our members, asking them, what do you want to work on? Where do you want to go? And a lot of times, I don't know why, but we get a lot of people want to do pull-ups. I'm like, okay, like that's great. It's going to take a very long time, just so you know that. And we'll have a template, right? And what we'll do is they're hitting all their movement patterns. But if we know this person wants to improve on their pull-ups, we'll change the back exercise to more of a pull-up dominant improving type exercise to make it more custom for that individual. So yes, it is custom. We can make modifications, changes based off injuries. I mean, it's the only way you can do it when especially right now, we're doing our 6-week challenge, and we got 24 external people that we've never even met before. They all did consults and stuff, but they're still really new. So we have a template for kind of like more advanced, like our regular, and then we'll have like more of like a novice template, like we call it like our 6 ABT beginner workout, and they'll roll through that for 6 weeks. And that's like, high angle rack push-ups, supported TRX split squats, those type of things that kind of fit their kind of, their abilities. So so there is a template that we'll use for sure, because it allows some scalability and repeatability. But at the same time, the coach is still very responsible for making sure that there are specific changes made for specific individuals and people. And, there are some people that I have a woman who trains with us 5 days a week, and she's like full blown conjugate. Like I do like dynamic effort, max effort, right? She loves it, right? And I program her specifically. So when she comes in, like if there's a coach working with her, she is doing some other different things that anybody else is doing. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, and then Angela, you're working with people between 40 and 60. There's a lot of people have knees and shoulders, so there's not really one program to suit everybody.
Right.
That's why you have to coach on this. You have to coach the staff to be able to make those necessary adjustments.
We are already a little over time, but I wanted to ask you one more question on the tactical side of what you just described, because it was really helpful for me when I was out there for Underground Strength Con last year to see just physically how you manage that with the app up. At the time, Joe said he was going to get you guys some big screens to work with, but at the time you just had a laptop, and you were switching between each client. You had their calendar up, and you were kind of flipping through to see what they needed to do, what modifications to make, and then tweaking it in real time. And we've tried to make the app a little bit more user-friendly for that. I'll have to tell you at some point in time, the funny story, I broke the app for like 2 days trying to implement one of the feature requests that I was trying to add for you. But talk a little bit about how you actually manage the floor with the programs and TurnKey Coach in real time while you're working with 7 different people, fast and furious within 45 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, especially in Orangeburg, we can have like on the Friday morning, I think you were there on a Friday morning, I believe, right? On a Friday morning like that, I mean, we could be ripping every hour on the hour between, 10 to 14 people on the hour with 2 coaches. So for us, the biggest thing is, one, the coach has to be prepared, right? So for our coaches, they have to know when you're coming in and you're working a 6 to 11 shift, okay, there has to be like a pre-shift meeting that happens between the coaches that decide like, hey, you're taking this person, and you're making sure that when that person walks in, that you and the coach aren't like, are you taking them? You're taking them? I'm taking them? Who's taking them? So it's pretty like, secure. When that person comes in, bang, that's my person. I got them coming over here with me. So how we do it is, if you're coming in, what we do from a coaching service standpoint, we try to approach you as fast as we can. Hey, hey, Tyler, you with me today? I got your mat out. I got your band out. And our warm-ups are the same for the entire month, which is very helpful for us. So we have one set of warm-ups for the entire month of April. And that helps us because the clientele really kind of likes the ability to kind of learn some stuff. Like educating the member of the client is super important. So like by the time we finish like the end of the first week, they're coming in, we got their mat out, their band out. I'm like, hey, we're hitting April's warm-ups. Yeah, I know them. All right, we're good. Okay, cool. They hit their warm-ups. We're finishing off the 8 o'clock into the 9 o'clock. The 9 o'clock is finishing up their warm-ups. By 9:10, they completed their warm-ups. 9:15. All right, now we're ready to roll with the meat and potatoes of the workout. So for our system, the monthly warm-up process is the same for each month, and then we change it.
Really cool.
Has been very helpful for us because it really allows them to have a little bit more accountability. They learn. I think too, like members feel good when like they learn stuff. Like you know what I mean? Like they come in and like they feel confident about what they're doing. Because like when you change stuff on people, like, oh, I was just learning that. Now I got to learn something new. It's like, so it's kind of nice. It kind of helps us, gives us a little bit of reprieve. They're a little bit more accountable. All right, so that's one thing. The second thing is when you come in for your shift and you're working a 6 to 11 in the morning, like laying out all the tabs on your on our laptop. I'll have, if I'm coaching from 7 to 10 on like a Tuesday morning, I know exactly what I'm taking between 7 and 10. I'll have every workout up already. So, you know what I mean? So I just, boom, new tab open, bang, new tab open.
So that's like 30 tabs open?
It could be sometimes, could be a little less, depending on, depending on how many people we have in the morning.
Sure.
But yeah, but I'll have each tab open, and that's kind of the coaches do. That's just business with us. That's how we do
Yep.
business, right? So if you're a coach with us, you got to be prepared. Like you can't come in, if you have a shift at 6 a.m., you can't be showing up at 6:02.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you
That's
got to be here by 5:40, 5:45. Get ready to rock and roll. Get your tabs up. Know who you're meeting, and so just you got to be prepared. I mean, with us, especially here in Orangeburg, it's like you got to be pumping. So
yeah.
you got to be ready to go. The PT studios, because of the nature of that's why we talked about earlier, like scaling some things down. That's why if you're a gym owner and you're looking to scale a little bit, I think that could be the best route for you because it's nice because in the PT studios, let's say at 6 a.m. and you have 7 people training when new people walk in, they know that the 7 a.m. they can see it is finishing. They
Hmm.
know, okay, we're not starting until this group leaves and we're in. In Orangeburg, you can just come in because it's such a big facility.
Yeah.
You don't have to
Yeah.
wait for anybody. You could just get
Yeah.
going. And sometimes, it can cause like a little bit of like, hey, oh no, not yet.
Hmm.
What I mean? So that's why with our staff here, like making sure they understand how to navigate an hour, work the room, control your people, get their mat out, point where they're going to be. Like if I know I'm taking some, like I always, where you saw me that one day, I was on the one side. That's where I'm
Hmm.
at all the time, right? But like if I'm working with somebody that I'm normally not working with, I will go up to them and grab them. Hey, you're with me today. We're gonna be over here. I got your mat set
Hmm.
up. You're like, oh, okay, no problem at all. So you gotta be vocal. You gotta work the room, man. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean. You gotta work. I mean, sometimes I think we want to make things so repeatable, scalable, and easy, and you have to, but you got to work too, right? You got to earn
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I mean, it's but you know what? It makes it go. You're working, so I mean, and you're learning too, right? Like so.
Mhm.
Our big thing is making sure our coaches know how to move things on the fly, make changes on the fly. If there's a knee injury and someone comes in, they have to do goblet box squats, and they come in like, hey, like I fell last night on ice and banged my left knee. What's your go-to move? Okay, we're
Mhm.
gonna switch to light backward sled pull and TKEs. Okay,
Mhm.
great. Okay, no low impact. Let's get the quad pumping a little bit, but we're not going to do any flexion to extension work. So they got to be able to make those slides, and that's what hopefully makes your facility a place that people want to come to. So
Awesome, Mike. Really appreciate you taking time to share your experience and wisdom from 2 decades
yeah,
of
thanks.
coaching in the trenches, and really glad to hear too that Turnkey coaches continue to be able to keep up with how you guys are pushing things, and looking forward to continue to refine it, and wish you the best of luck. And probably, I'm definitely going to see you. Are you going to be at all the Business of Strength events this year? Heading out
I think
to
the next one I'll be at hopefully is in September in Park
yeah,
City.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet, awesome. I'll hopefully see you there.
yeah, definitely.
And for anyone interested in learning more about Turnkey Coach, we can set up a free discovery call with either myself or Mac McGregor himself. Go to turnkey.coach/disco and you can book a call there. We will look, no pressure. We want to learn more about your business, what you're working on, what's worked, what hasn't, and see if Turnkey Coach will be a fit. And until next time, we'll see you next Thursday on the Business of Coaching Workshop.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate you having me.
All right, man.